As I aimed my gun at the teller, demanding cash, a faint ticking noise filled the air. Panic surged through me. I urged her to hurry, but her gaze flickered to my weapon and back to me. Sweat trickled down my forehead. My heart raced as I followed her gaze. Realizing the source of the ticking, my gun was leaking water. Busted, I thought, as dread washed over me. The clerk must have noticed. That's why she wore that peculiar expression. The tension was palpable. The fear thick in the air. I kept the gun trained on her, demanding the money. Surely, she knew it was a fake now. Yet, to my surprise, she tossed the bag towards me, whispering urgently, "Run." I hesitated, bewildered. Why was she helping me? But her subtle nod towards the back door spurred me into action. Without hesitation, I seized the bag and bolted. Confusion engulfed me, but I followed her unspoken guidance, slipping out unnoticed. I sprinted to where I'd stashed my car, concealing it on the far side of the building. With a quick getaway, I raced to an old garage where I had another car stashed. Changing clothes, I transferred the loot and returned to the scene of the crime. It might seem insane, but what the clerk did was even crazier. I couldn't risk her turning me in, so I made the drastic decision to kidnap her. It was a desperate move, but I felt like I had no other choice. Jail or another crime seemed to be my only options. When the chaos settled, I trailed her from the bank, staying hidden until we reached an underground parking lot. Just as I was about to confront her, she surprised me by speaking up. "You don't have to do this. I'll come with you." Her calmness unnerved me. How did she know? Who was she? I demanded answers, but she insisted we didn't have time. She asked about the bag. "We," I retorted. "There's no we. Just tell me who you are and what you want." Approaching me fearlessly, she dropped a bombshell. There was a GPS tracker in the bag, and she could destroy it. Otherwise, the police would be on my tail in no time. I was dumbfounded. Why was she helping me after I'd handed her the bag? She demanded 50% of the loot, citing the risk she'd taken and the fact that she'd saved me from another mistake by stopping the kidnapping. Her proposal threw me off guard. 50% was a hefty share, but faced with the alternative of her turning me in, I reluctantly agreed. It was a deal. Watching her smash the GPS to pieces, I couldn't help but wonder how she could trust me so easily. She was a mystery, and I was both intrigued and perplexed by her actions. She asked for half the money, and I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to it. People don't risk their lives for nothing. I did what I did out of desperation. Growing up poor wasn't so bad at first. I valued the simple things and cherished what I had. But life has a way of changing your perspective. When my father fell ill and I couldn't afford his surgery, everything changed. I worked tirelessly, but it wasn't enough. I needed a drastic solution. That's when I made the decision to rob a bank with a fake gun. I know, it sounds crazy, but I felt like I had no other choice. It was risky, but I was desperate to save my father's life. You might be wondering why I used a fake gun. Knowing the risks, well, it was a gamble. If I got away with it, I'd pay for my father's surgery and donate the rest to charity. My intentions were pure. I just wanted to help my dad. And if I got caught, at least I could tell myself I'd tried everything. But luck wasn't on my side. Now I'll have a roof over my head and food to eat, courtesy of the state. It's not how I envisioned helping my father, but sometimes you act without fully considering the consequences. It's a mistake I'll have plenty of time to reflect on. We all make choices we regret, don't we? There was something she wasn't telling me, and I was determined to find out what it was. We drove for hours until we reached my secluded hideout, an old trailer tucked away in the woods. I hesitated to reveal my secret to her at first, but I had no other option. I had to trust her, even if I didn't fully understand her motives. As I showed her around, she seemed genuinely pleased. Her smile was infectious, but I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something important from me. I tried to pry it out of her, but she was stubborn as ever. "Sure, your reason for robbing that bank is more interesting than mine," she quipped, brushing off my questions with ease. While I brewed some coffee, hoping to buy some time to figure out what to do with her, my phone rang. It wasn't a smartphone that could easily trace me. It was a special phone only my dad knew the number to, reserved for emergencies. And this was definitely an emergency. My dad's condition had worsened. He'd seen my face on the news and was blaming himself, his voice filled with tears. I reassured him as best I could, but then I heard commotion in the background, a nurse urgently calling for a doctor. Panic set in as I listened helplessly, tears streaming down my face. In that moment, it hit me hard how badly I'd screwed up. My dad needed that surgery now more than ever, and I was stuck in the middle of nowhere, with no way to get him the help he needed, let alone pay for it. I found myself in a tight spot. Wanted by the law, I was on edge, pacing back and forth, consumed by stress. That's when Skylar surprised me with her offer. "I'll do it," she said. "I want to be part of your plan. I can help you, and I'm sure you need my help. Trust me, you have nothing to lose." I was speechless. Why would she put herself at even greater risk? Before I could protest, she cut me off. "Stop asking questions," she insisted. "Just trust me. I'll explain everything when the time is right." Reluctantly, I agreed. As we talked, I noticed tears welling in her eyes. She seemed tough yet vulnerable, leaving me utterly perplexed. Without missing a beat, she assured me, "Leave it to me. I'll take the money to your father." Though I doubted her at first, Skylar worked her magic, saving my father's life with the money from the heist. She left him a note from me, explaining my absence. From that day on, we became partners in crime, navigating our uncertain future together. Despite the circumstances, living with her wasn't half bad. In fact, I began to develop feelings for her. But something was holding me back, and soon I discovered what it was. Skylar was changing right before my eyes. Skylar's physical transformation was undeniable. Every day, she seemed to be putting on more weight, and her body was going through significant changes. At first, she blamed it on ditching her diet and indulging in unhealthy food with me. But when her belly started to show a bump, we both knew the truth. She was pregnant. Finally able to open up, Skylar shared her story with me. She lived with her parents, who held tight to their cultural customs and traditions. According to their beliefs, she couldn't live independently or have a child out of wedlock. But life doesn't always follow tradition, and Skylar found herself in a situation she never imagined. When her boyfriend discovered her pregnancy, he accused her of infidelity and washed his hands of any responsibility. It left Skylar feeling alone and terrified. She couldn't face her parents, and the cost of an abortion was beyond her means. Despite her fears, she believed terminating the pregnancy wasn't the right answer. That fateful day at work, she was at her breaking point, drowning in pressure and uncertainty. Then, amidst the chaos, she heard my voice demanding the money. In that moment, where fear should have consumed her, she found solace. She saw something in me, a desperation or perhaps a shared struggle, that convinced her to act. As she handed me the bag, her actions weren't just about helping me. They were about seizing a chance for her own salvation. I offered her half the money, believing it could be her ticket to a fresh start. But Skylar's decision wasn't just about money. It was about survival. She knew her parents wouldn't accept her child, and she refused to let her baby suffer the same fate she did. Skylar faced a crucial decision, one that could reshape her entire future. She had two paths: take half the money and disappear from her home, or call the police and risk imprisonment, believing it might offer her a chance at independence. Her resolve shook me to the core. I was falling for her, hard, and the timing couldn't have been more complicated. As we shared a moment, our eyes meeting in silent understanding, I longed to kiss her. It felt like destiny had intertwined our lives, revealing the missing piece I'd been searching for. With a rush of emotion, I wiped away her tears, drawing her closer. Our lips met in a kiss filled with unspoken truths, and to my joy, she responded with equal fervor. It was a victory, a confirmation of mutual affection. But just as our love bloomed, Skylar's health took a turn for the worse. She needed urgent medical attention, and we couldn't evade the truth any longer. I'd grown accustomed to surviving on the fringes, scraping by with makeshift solutions. But this was different. Skylar's life hung in the balance, and I couldn't bear to see her suffer. Despite the risk of facing the consequences, I made the only choice I could live with: to get her to the hospital. Yet, as we arrived, fear and uncertainty clouded my judgment. In a moment of panic, I made a decision I'll forever regret. I left her at the hospital entrance, fleeing from the weight of my cowardice, tears blurring my vision. It was a betrayal, an act of self-preservation that left me haunted by guilt. Leaving Skylar alone at the hospital tore me apart. Each day felt like a suffocating weight pressing down on me, drowning me in guilt and remorse. Nightmares plagued my sleep, the image of her helpless form haunting my every moment. I screamed, I broke things, desperate to escape the relentless cycle of guilt consuming me. I even resorted to medication in a futile attempt to find solace in sleep. My once vibrant life had turned into a living nightmare. Dark circles etched beneath my eyes, my complexion drained of color, a constant reminder of the pain I carried within. Every glance in the mirror was met with self-loathing, a visceral reminder of my own failures. It was then that I knew I had to make a decision, to confront the demons that plagued me. Before taking any further steps, I sought solace in my father's presence. Disguised and stealthy, I slipped into his hospital room, his eyes lighting up with a mixture of surprise and relief at my unexpected visit. In his embrace, I poured out my heart, recounting the events that had led me to this moment. His words pierced through me like shards of glass, breaking my resolve with their profound truth. He acknowledged the sacrifice I had made, the lengths I had gone to in order to save him. Yet, in his wisdom, he imparted a lesson I would carry with me forever. He knew that the true regret would not be the act of robbery or even my subsequent imprisonment. No, it would be the absence of closure, the failure to bid farewell to Skylar, to offer her the closure she deserved. With a heavy heart and a newfound determination, I left his bedside that night, resolved to make amends for my mistakes. Months passed, and I found myself standing before the judge, shackled and vulnerable. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation, but my gaze sought only one face in the crowd: Skylar, my son by her side, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. As the verdict was delivered, a wave of relief washed over me. Despite my transgressions, the court recognized the purity of my intentions, the desperation that had driven my actions. Skylar's smile, radiant and forgiving, warmed my soul as I made my way into the next chapter of my life, a flicker of hope guiding me forward.